Tucker Carlson says that Israel is one of the ugliest countries in the world. One of, Tucker?
This American empire, which is dying, hastened by this war with Israeli empire. And one thing I noticed, I can't contain myself and have to express it, but when you say that the Israelis are destroying Beirut, which is, having been to a lot of places in the world, one of the prettiest places on the globe. Beirut is just a marvel. It's beautiful. It reminds me, and it's being destroyed by Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true. That the nature of this emerging empire is destructive, and it always seems like beautiful things wind up being destroyed. Europe, right? Beirut, parts of Syria, the holy sites. Parts of Iran are apparently beautiful, totally blown up. This does seem like a war on beauty as well, which next to truth is like, this is not an American perspective, but it's a Christian perspective and a real perspective. It's a global perspective. Beauty is worth preserving. And yet it seems the determined effort of the IDF to destroy beauty. And I just want to say that because I really notice it.
Because they project what they are. They're an ugly people. And so when they're confronted with things that are beautiful, when they're confronted by people who actually have traditions, heritage, culture, they realize that they don't have any of those things and they are insecure about it. They feel inferior and they must destroy the thing. It's like looking in the mirror and breaking the mirror because you don't like what you see in the mirror. They're completely irredeemable, folks. This is hilarious. This is supposed to be Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, I believe. Was he the Secretary of State? Mike Pompeo. He might have been the Secretary of Defense. I forget. Either way, he's a goon and a ghoul, but he looks like Hitler without the stash. I don't even know if this is honestly real. This could be AI. But aren't we just missing a little tiny mustache? I mean, that's it, right? That's him. Says he thinks we can't recognize him. There's another post here it is. It says, the moment I realized post-Ozempic Mike Pompeo is Adolf Hitler without the stash. I have no reference for this clip. I just think it's hilarious. There you go. There you go. That's what we were waiting for. Ain't no way. Yeah, that's him, really. Look at this. Adding Pompeo to the lineup. Would you know Der Führer's face if he settled in Western Canada? He could be Hitler au naturel. He could be maybe a chef. Maybe he's a professor. Or just a hobo. Or maybe he's the guy next door. Dude, I literally thought someone did an AI to make it look like Hitler right now, but holy fuck, that's Mike Pompeo? Reich Pompeo? Emo Hitler? I'm confused. Is it Mike Pompeo or not? I mean, it legitimately could be. Why is he laughing? He's thinking about juice. Pardon my French, but Elon Musk looks like a redneck lesbian poet.
You know, I think some kind of brain-machine interface that can give you cybernetic superpowers, I think, is probably good. It could, help people that have brain or spine injuries. Restore, enable people who've never spoken for years to speak again, which we've done.
He does look like a lesbian poet with a receding hairline. He needs to take another trip to Turkey, get his hair fixed, because he's starting to go bald again. Elon, you're starting to go bald again. It's time for another hair transplant, okay? It wasn't working.
I'll give you this. I want you to look at the conspiracy. Go look up Gal Luft and Alexander Smirnov. They're the two principal individuals that made the only claim that people hung their hat in Congress and elsewhere as it relates to my dad and corruption, bribery and stuff like that. One of them is a fugitive from justice wanted by Interpol and the United States government, Gal Luft, who is a former IDF officer who is believed to be living in Israel as a fugitive, which the Israelis will not help us locate. And the other one is Alexander Smirnov, who is a known Israeli intelligence agent. Those are the two people who was in a prison in the United States, serving 6 years, and they can't find him. Their prison can't find him in his prison, in the prison. He is on furlough, but no one knows where he's been furloughed to. The only passport that he has is an Israeli passport. Mm. There are forces that I used to say, oh, this is bullshit. I'll give you this.
Alexander Smirnov. Never heard of him. Ex-FBI informant pleads guilty to lying about Biden's. Alexander Smirnov claim that President Joe Biden's son Hunter were involved in bribery scheme. Whatever. I don't care about Hunter Biden. Okay. So remember Jeff Bezos in that interview he gave with CNBC, and he was asked about wealth disparity and the billionaire class and what are we going to do about all of the poverty and the egregious differences between these two classes. And he says, well, don't tax me. You got to stop taxing the bottom half of the income earners in this country. And it's not really the fact that you don't tax billionaires. It's the fact that you tax the lower income portion of the U.S. population. And people grilled him about the effective tax rate, including Robert Reich, because the entire conception of how the tax code is written is what we're calling into question. We don't want to be explained to about how the rules are presently, right? That's the problem. You can't make an argument defending the tax code by saying, well, this is just how it always is. We know that. We understand why it is the way that it is. It's because billionaires such as Jeff Bezos have spent hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying the government, getting corporate tax cuts, making sure that all of the taxes and the tax burden goes on to the working class. And we are calling into question the fact that, or the issue that passive wealth is not taxed in this country. And that's how billionaires are able to thrive. That's how they live. They don't live off of income. They don't live off of taking a cash salary. They live off of borrowing against their huge stock portfolio, which is valued at hundreds of billions of dollars, to take out loans that they can then live off of. And because they are loans, that loan is virtually non-taxable. I mean, there's maybe a really like small percentage of an interest rate, but it's not the same as, an income tax, for example. And they're able to skirt by paying taxes for their entire lives. It's a strategy we talk about on this stream called buy, borrow, die. And Robert Reich also made a video talking about, well, if we actually conceptually changed how we tax in this country and incorporated an actual wealth tax, or if we factored in the passive fortunes of these private individuals, who in some cases have close to $1 trillion to their name, just one private individual, that's insane. And if you factor in that large amount, something like $8 trillion is held by the billionaire class, and this money is not taxed. It's a huge portion of the pie that's not even talked about. It's not even considered, because the way that they wrote the tax code was that labor gets taxed, not capital. We live in capitalism, so that makes sense, right? Well, of course, the capitalists would say, let's tax labor, let's not tax our passive capital gains. But if you factored in all of that, the true tax rate of these billionaires is less than a percentage point. They pay zero. And in some cases, and in some years, people like Jeff Bezos who record multi-billion-dollar profits, their net worth, skyrockets. In some cases, it's like it skyrockets in 5 minutes. He makes like, there's literally historical examples of Jeff Bezos. Like for one example, I just remembered, there was this speculation that Amazon was going to create a rival to the iPhone, and this was a rumor. It wasn't true. There was no plan to create the iPhone, but because the rumor was being spread, everyone bought Amazon stock. It caused the stock price of Amazon to surge. And so Jeff Bezos made some egregious amount of money, tens and tens of billions of dollars in something like 20 minutes in one day. And, the point is that their wealth skyrockets because of a rumor. Meanwhile, people that are spending their blood, sweat, tears, their life, their energy, their livelihood, their bodies to acquire compensation to live, that is what gets taxed in this country, and not speculative, stock valuations. So it's conceptually, it's all fucked up, and I commented about all this, and so did a bunch of other people. So I think Jeff read literally the writing on the wall, or the writing on his Twitter account, and he comes up with this rebuttal. He says, please do a quick read of this. It's short, well written, and will remove a bit of wool from over your eyes, because you have a problem with the way that you conceptualize this tax code, the way that the tax laws are written. And I didn't read the article. We can take a look at it. But judging by the comments, from the people that did, they're like, yeah, you're just explain. Basically, this is what they always do. They just explain capitalism to us. They just explain, well, this is what the rules are. You know, we don't tax unrealized gains. And what's funny is that we do actually tax unrealized gains. When it comes to home ownership, people that own homes, they pay a property tax every year. In fact, if the home gains value, which is often the case because the housing market's always going up in price, the home market always going up in price each year, the tax, even though you don't sell your home, you're still living in your home, but you're paying taxes, and the taxes accrue. They get larger and a bigger amount each year as the property value goes up. But you didn't sell anything. You're just holding. It's an unrealized gain, right? You didn't sell the house, but you're still paying taxes on the perceived value of it. And if that value goes up, you pay more taxes even though you didn't sell the home. So we do. It's perfectly conceivable to tax what they call unrealized gains. But this is, obviously intolerable to the billionaire class. They see this as something that is just taboo. But again, we're taxed for unrealized gains over assets that we need to live. We need a home to live. I mean, these are it's not private property. It's personal property. Your home is your personal property, and you're being taxed on that. The private property of billionaires, their huge stock portfolio, which they use to borrow against, and so they can buy mega yachts and buy Twitter and all this stuff that they don't need to survive, that doesn't get taxed. And that is the moral issue of our day in this economy. So this guy says, okay, so I read it and the article proves the opposite of what it thinks it proves. Nobody serious is saying you illegally evaded taxes. Yeah, we understand. It's all legal. We know that. You guys wrote the laws. So of course you made it legal for yourselves to do this. That's not the point. You can't just say that it's legal and most of the worst shit that is done in human history has all been under the pretense of being legal. The point is that the tax code lets billionaire wealth grow almost untouched, while the wages get taxed immediately. It's very simple. And when you elucidate this point, capitalist apologists will always tell you that you don't understand capitalism. We understand capitalism. They say you don't understand the economy. No, we understand the economy. You don't understand capitalism. You actually don't understand economy because you mistake the economy for capitalism. As we say, every society in human history has had economies. Not every society in human history has had a capitalist class. Every society in history that was able to sustain itself had a working class. You had to have workers able to make commodities that other people could use. But not every society has needed or had a capitalist class. It's superfluous. It's unnecessary. It's redundant. It's parasitic. So unrealized gains aren't income is not a rebuttal. See, this guy gets it. It's the loophole. Thank you. See that? When they say unrealized gains aren't income, it's not a rebuttal. Legal isn't the same as fair. It just means the people who benefit wrote the rules neatly enough. Thank you. Somebody else says, your yacht is a tax write-off. School supplies are not. The end. It's all you need to do to understand what's happening. The ratio of CEO pay to average worker pay is 285 to 1. I think that might be even low. I heard that it was more like 400 to 1. Maybe that's, reduced to, the top 100 multinationals, but I've heard it was 400 to 1. It used to be 21 to 1 in the 1950s, back when MAGA thought America was great. Back then, there was a thriving middle class. The top marginal tax rate back then was over 90%. The corporate tax rate was 53%. Thank you, Clifford. Maybe stop making bullshit excuses for hoarding wealth and pay your employees who make your wealth possible, a fair wage. And that's the funny part, is that, we reject wage labor. We think wage labor is wage slavery. It's not chattel slavery, but wage slavery is a form of slavery. We can go into all the reasons why that is. People, obviously, not everybody agrees with that assessment, but I do, and I can explain why. But at the same time, we're asking for mild reformations, Asking for higher wages is just pleading to the king to be more benevolent. Please, master, pay the workers a little bit more. We're hurting. We'll let you have your mega yacht. You can still be king, but just give us, a little bit of a bump, please. Now, I reject that psychology, and I reject that energy. I rebuke that energy, because I don't think that there's any legitimacy to what they're doing. I don't think there's any legitimacy to the corporate hierarchy. I don't think there's any legitimacy to the billionaire class. So I push for more wholesale change, but I'm saying this to show you how modest we are. We're simply asking for some of the most viable breadcrumbs. It would really not, it would not make a dent in their vast fortunes, right? But they still won't do it. And that's another point. They will fight you tooth and nail on issues that are important to you, but they could care less really about, I mean, for them, it's really not that much. It wouldn't be that much of a concession to raise the minimum wage, you know, make the working conditions more favorable to the workers. It would be something really small that they could do, but they're unwilling to do that. And why is that? Because they don't want you to see that activism works, that public pressure works, that, you know, if you organize against them and you're emboldened by a success, that's going to make you emboldened for more. That you encourage that, hey, we had this success, let's keep trying for more things. Yes, my girlfriend is okay. She's just having a little coughing fit. It's all right. I appreciate that you care, but we're doing fine. Okay, she put a Listerine tab in her. It's and it made her cough. Okay, and that's all I have to say about that. Taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for providing your employees with food and health care because you're a greedy f***ing pig. Recently, someone died in one of your warehouses, and the employees just had to continue working around the dead body. That's a true story. Can you believe that shit? A fucking Amazon worker died in the warehouse, and they didn't even stop the shift. They just worked around her dead body. You stifle competition. You're bad for America, they say. I was trying to find this book. I have a really great book. I forgot what her name was that wrote it, but it's called, it's way down there, I see it, but it doesn't say the title. It's like Amazon, The Ruthless Quest for Domination or something like that. And if you have time or if you're interested, you should read it, and it details like the history of the rise of Amazon. You'll be disgusted to learn all of the shortcuts, all of the ways they cheat, all the ways that they fuck over not only consumers, but their own peer competitors. There even people that are just trying to get on the Amazon website so they can sell their wares. They fuck them over too. It's all sorts of treachery. Ruthless is just the word to describe it. And sociopathic as well. I mean, they destroyed entire lives, entire communities, and countless smaller businesses. You just would have no idea. But one of them was diapers.com. That's kind of a bigger one. There's a lot of other ones that, like a lot of startups. They even had like Amazon is a conglomerate. It's got its hands and fingers and everything. And they create all these little subsidiaries. And one of the things that they started was this startup program or business where they funded, or they ostensibly it was like, we're going to fund your ideas. Come, we'll do these convention center style exposés, invite a bunch of innovative people that are working on some interesting stuff that's new, and they'll showcase their new technology or their new product. And what ended up happening, what these smaller businesses later claimed, was that Amazon was, doing reconnaissance, trying to gather all this information. They would hear these presentations about these new products, and they would take notes, and then they would maybe do a follow-up or something. They want more information about what their metrics are and all this data, and then they'd find, and then all of a sudden Amazon would ghost them. They'd be like, okay, we're gonna get started, we're gonna get working together, and they'll ghost this smaller business, and then a couple months will go by, and then they'll find out that the product that they were working on, well, there's now an Amazon brand for that price. It's the same technology, same concept, same product, essentially. Maybe it's got a new name, but they literally would steal these people's intellectual property. And because of this company is so powerful with so many resources, there's really no recourse for these smaller businesses to fight Amazon. So they kind of have to eat shit, and a lot of companies went under because of that. So it's true, they stifle competition, and much more than that, they destroy it. It's very spiritually Israeli when you think about it. This says, this is a Google search. It says, what percentage of Amazon employees qualify for public assistance? It says, a national survey of frontline warehouse workers found that 48% relied on at least one publicly funded assistance program to meet basic needs like food and rent. 48% of Amazon warehouse workers, nearly half, relied on publicly funded assistance programs to meet basic needs like food and rent. Additionally, one-third, 33%, specifically used publicly funded assistance programs like SNAP or Medicaid. So what does that tell you? It tells me that Amazon's making record-breaking profits while paying their employees barely livable wages. In fact, unlivable, insecure, precarious wages. Can you break this down more specifically, please? Would love to know how grateful I need to be for your investment in the United States. In 2025, the company invested $340 billion in the U.S., more than any other American firm for the 7th consecutive year, according to the Progressive Policy Institute. The money, where did it go? Yeah, it went into data centers, fulfillment centers, AI infrastructure, so back into Amazon. That's another thing they do. They do stock buybacks. The money that they make off the working class, off the backs of their workers, all the profits that they make, they don't funnel that back into their workers. They'll take that money and buy their own stock to push the stock price. So the stock market is just vicious class war. Retail investors are getting scammed, okay? Don't be a retail investor and start, well, but the stock market means the free market and capitalism is great. No, you're being grifted just as much as anybody. You're being grifted more. You're actually playing into the game. You're playing into the scam. Producer Berg is rubbing his hands right now. So we didn't even look at this article, but it says there's a particular sort of dishonesty available only to a man with credentials. The ordinary liar must hope his audience does not check. This is exactly projection from Jeff Bezos. The credentialed liar trusts that his audience will not check because surely a cabinet secretary, Berkeley professor, subject of a Netflix documentary, Robert Reich, understands this. He's built a career on it. So he says effective tax rate paid by Jeff Bezos from 2014-2018, 0.98%. Effective 2025 federal tax rate paid by Amazon, 1.4%. The typical tax rate, by contrast, paid by the average American, 14.5%. So in light of that, this post says, consider the post he published on X in May 26th, which traveled as such things do to several million readers. Effective tax rate, blah, 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 so they quote it. Three numbers presented in parallel, presented as comparable, presented as damning, and every one of them is wrong in a different way. The 0.98% is definitionally false, the 1.4% is structurally misleading, the 14.5% is statistically inflated. The juxtaposition is not analysis, it is the rhetorical equivalent of a magician's patter, designed to keep the audience watching one hand while the other does the work. This is exactly what billionaires do. This guy just explained the entire political economy of capitalism. Begin with Bezos. They say 0.98% number comes from 2021 Publica report based on a legally leaked IRS data. Oh my God, they obtained the very factual data from the IRS. It was illegal. Now you want to cry about it being legal or illegal? The figure is not an effective tax rate in any sense that an accountant or a tax attorney, yeah, we know that, or a federal judge would recognize. No shit, because all of those people are prevailing and working and laboring under the present tax code, which we are recognizing is unjust. ProPublica invented a new metric. Yes, when you're trying to call out the injustices of the present prevailing political economy with its unjust tax code, you've got to you've got to think outside the box, right? You've got to frame it and conceptualize it in a way that accounts for wealth, for the entire pie, not just the income labor taxed portion of it. From 2014 to 2018, Trullo's own figures show that Bezos reported $4.2 billion in income, paid $973 million in federal taxes. Yeah, so they're just explaining exactly what we already talked about. To arrive at 0.9, ProPublica had to substitute a different denominator. Yeah, no shit. We had to account for wealth, you fucker. It's the whole point. You're still saying, no, but in America, we only tax income. Yes, dildo, we know that. That's the point. But you can't tax wealth. You can't tax asset. Well, we do. We do tax homes. We tax consumers. We tax people, ordinary working class Americans, when they own a home. We tax them. But not the mega yacht. At the same time as he tells the poor not to drink coffee to save money, this criminal capitalist, Kevin O'Leary, owns a 26-meter-long super yacht from the exclusive Wally brand, valued at several $1 million. There they are, cavorting in Miami. They hate capitalists so little, that's why they fund their Nazi dogs to distract attention. So you point at the immigrant who is poorer than you, and don't look at these multi-millionaire criminals who live at your expense. We would say billionaire criminals, not just millionaires. All right, I think that here's a shot of Iran's airspace completely cleared out. I wonder if we can take a look at that right now. What's it doing now, folks? What's the is it called flight tracker or something? Flight radar. Let's see what the skies over Iran are now. Yep, look at that. Still cleared out. All is quiet on the Middle Eastern front, as it were. Iran's not playing about, folks. All right.
Would you be shocked to learn that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself?
No. I mean, how many Jeffrey Epstein type people are out there?
Well, that's right.
That's the real question.
You mean people who've been killed, or people who are using sex as a blackmail tool?
That.
Yeah.
And then who's pulling the strings on
latter,
that?
Any guesses?
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell has a lot of ties to the Mossad.
Yep.
That would make sense. I mean, Jeffrey didn't seem to get some of the appointments he was given in prominence based on merit. Somebody was putting him in the right spots.
Yeah, well, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a Mossad asset.
But I don't think he's the only one. I think there's a problem, a weird, bizarre problem, really.
Yeah, no, I knew that Mecca was Mecca, if that's what you're getting at. Yeah, that's true. They attacked Iran during Ramadan. That's sort of what I was alluding to.
It has a weird sex component to it with some of the elites. And there's a pedophile component to it as well, which is really sick. And there's, some prominent figures, who are in the spotlight as of late. I would like that to be exposed. But Jeffrey Epstein had the goods on everybody. So there were a lot of people that didn't want him to be alive. And then the whole, wild story around, multiple people being asleep and, him not being watched at the time is real convenient. And I just don't believe in that many coincidences.
No. He was murdered in federal detention in Manhattan. I don't think there's any question about that. And people lied about it, including the then Attorney General of the United States.
I think there's some weird correlations between and anomalies that, the Johnny Depp trial had eyes on it, crazy coverage, and the Ghislaine Maxwell trial had next to no coverage, no TV coverage, no nightly commentary about it, no traffic to nobody. I mean, they literally she is indicted for trafficking kids, and nobody who she was trafficking kids to got indicted.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you want to start a religious war, millions of Muslims from literally everywhere in one place. So are we saying that Netanyahu is going to call in an airstrike on Mecca now?
Or named.
They want to bring about the end of days. So, I mean, they want to murk us all. There's a really long. Remember how he's like, there is a list. There is a list. There is a list of people that Israel wants to murk, and it's everyone eventually. It's just that Palestinians were up on the list first, sadly.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, it's twice as much shame on me. I cannot believe I allowed you to fool me again. Should definitely learn from the first time not to be fooled. Fool me 4 times, shame back on you. Actually, you are picking on a vulnerable man. Something has obviously gone wrong with me. This is like bullying the kid in a wheelchair at primary school. It's like, bully the fat kid, bully the kid with the limp. 4 times you're going to fool me? Unbelievable. Fool me 5 times, shame on me again. I mean, I'm vulnerable, but at some point you have to take some personal responsibility for crying out loud. I've got 12 of these, they're good for 8. Fool me 6 times. Fool me 6 times, 6 times a fool. And I have lured you into my trap. Pretending to be a fool 6 consecutive times to give you a false sense of security. Only to flip it. And now you are the fool.
This is a crazy thought experiment.
And you
I
have
can't
the
believe
shame.
I am too. This is...
Fool me.
Is that what that accent? I knew I didn't like this guy. I thought it was the overalls, but you're right. Australian.
7 times you saw through my trick. But there's no shame, because I'm getting fooled by the best. Fool me 8 times. And this is no longer a fooling, this is a system.
I fooled me a lot thinking that there was something funny about this joke, but I will not be fooled again.
I want Iran to have nukes. I want Pakistan to give Iran nukes right now. That's what I want. I want this to end. No one is worried about Iran's nukes. No one. Coons isn't worried about it. Hexeth isn't worried about it. Israel isn't worried
I
about
thought she was being racist there. She's like, Coons wouldn't have worried. What?
No one in the United States is worried about nukes. It is a freaking cover story to scare Americans into agreeing to enter a war that has been devastating for our country and the global economy. God, I can't stand the fact that we are being ruled by the dumbest people in the country right now. Pete Hegseth is clearly one of the dumbest people in the country. Oh, Iran doesn't control the Strait of Hormuz. We control the Strait of Hormuz. Sure, buddy. Sure. Go ahead and tell yourself that, you freaking piece of crap.
You see, this is the kind of commentary I'm here for.
I don't know what to do about this, Cenk. This is going on and on and on. All of us are suffering from it. And the people who get to make the decisions about where we go from here is the idiot you just heard from.
Dang, dude.